Time currently L minus 17 minutes, 3 seconds and counting. Time currently L minus 17 minutes. As we're tracking the progress of the Artemis 2 mission towards the opening of the window, this was the time where we would have expected the launch director to pull the team, ensuring that they are go for launch. Standing by for further from Firing Room 1 and from NASA, as we are also approaching about just under 6.5 minutes from when the planned 30-minute hold at T-minus 10 minutes was expected to lift.
This 2-hour launch window, and that's important. They're in very small print.
We should be hearing some more call-outs from the test director, Loop, per NASA's Daryl Nail, coming up here in the next few minutes. The battery issue related to the launch abort system, that has been cleared at this point in time. We're standing by for further.
And OTC, NTD on 212 for comm check.
Good, tell me.
I hear the same. STC? GTC?
GTC is on 212.
All right, copy that.
So we are standing by awaiting 2 critical polls, one from the NASA test director, the other from Artemis launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson.
OTC, Rhino, Earth 1.
CCL.
Yes, sir. Reconfigure ARS primary loop ISO valves.
Copy, that's in work.
And CDR, OTC, Rhino, Earth 1.
Go.
ARS loop ISO valves are being closed at this time.
Integrity copies.
NGDLP.
Go.
Yes, has had a discussion with sea ice and with MER manager regarding the observation the sea ice had a few minutes ago. They were able to confirm with BCI photos that the condition that they observed has been there since 2025. MER manager has had a chance to review the findings, and they do not have any constraints from either a sea ice or MER manager perspective.
Okay, copy all. And Launch Director, NTD, you copy?
Yes, sir. I copy. That's good news.
OTC CCL 212.
OTC.
ARS primary loop isolation valve configuration is complete.
Copy.
And CGLS NTD, cancel pending, please.
CLS copies, and that's complete.
All right, and for all personnel, we got a little bit more work to do before we pick up the clock, and we're about a little over a minute from getting to T-minus 10 minutes, but we've canceled the resume time there, and then we'll pick it up after we get through all of our work and anything else that we need to do to get through the remainder of count. So we'll continue working that to get to our T0 today. So when we get to about 50 seconds from now, we'll extend that hold.
CVSE OTC.
CVSE.
400-290, looking to verify that we are configured for ascent.
Yep, give me about 2 more minutes. I'm going to start CMA2 streaming.
Copy.
NTD COSE hold requested.
Copy that.
I have an LCC violation of O-CT-004, S-band transponder anomaly. This was a transient LCC violation, so transponder 1 had a demodulated SNR estimate that went down to 2 dBm when it should have been between 10 and 13. It is now back up to 12, but we did lose that for just a moment. It does not appear that we lost our bit sync or carrier lock, which would be indicative that we lost our lock with the vehicle. So at this point, recommendation would still be go. However, we do have a pre-planned contingency procedure if we want to look at that.
We'll bring up those nets here in just a moment. Just want to address the reason that the L- clock has stopped is because teams, as you heard, have determined there is still more work ahead. And so they are working to finish up what they need before they are able to proceed into the terminal count. So the clock will stand in this hold at T-minus 10 minutes before the T-minus clock and the L- clock were set to sync. Assuming the work can be cleared, then the count would presumably continue on from this start of the terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. But again, for those just joining us, expecting that we are 10 minutes away from the liftoff of Artemis 2, teams still have work left to do before they are ready to proceed. We are standing by for the polls from the NASA test director, as well as the Artemis launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, that need to happen. The teams need to reach a consensus to proceed with the liftoff here today. Again, there is a 2-hour window, so we are by no means at the end of the opportunities for today. Lots of latitude left to work, and so we will bring you the very latest. We'll go ahead and let you listen back into the loops here.
Yes, sir, that's correct. It is 1/10 hertz.
Yeah, so from our perspective, the allowance is effectively up to 30 seconds, up to 3 samples based on 1/10 hertz. This is not an LCC violation, I believe.
Yes, sir, I would agree with that at this point. Copy that.
We're checking with KUS on 232. I don't think they have 212 access. We're trying to verify, but it sounds like they have a loss of lock as well. About 2 seconds.
Okay. And I guess for both KUS and COSE, do we have lock now?
That's affirmed. We do have lock for COSE.
Yeah, so from the integration console perspective, we did have a temporary loss there within the allowable, and per the requirement, let's go.
And this is Houston Flight. We have lock and we have good telemetry here in GSE.
And KUS is reported to they have good luck now. So with all of that, OSC, then are we in a go configuration per your LCC?
Yes, sir. Recommendation would be go.
Right. LP, you concur with that?
Yes, sir. LP concurs go.
And Launch Director?
Yes, sir. Launch director concurs go.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just verify everybody has everything else complete, Launch Director, and if we do, we'll be ready to pick up the poll at that time, unless there's something else that you're aware of.
No, sir. Let's verify all our work is complete, and I would like one last check of our constraints list.
All right, let's see. OTC, are you still waiting for ComConfig, or are you?
That is affirmed, sir.
Okay, yeah, is that your only open item?
Yeah, OTC, this is CVSC. That 400 step 290 is complete.
Copy.
Okay, so OTC, you're complete with all of your work?
That's affirmed.
All right, copy that. STC?
STC is complete.
And GTC?
GTC is complete.
Okay, excellent. All right, and LPE, just want to verify we have no open constraints at this time.
No open constraints. We have a clear board, sir.
Okay, tracking the same here. And Launch Director, with that, we are clear and ready to pick up the launch readiness poll with your go.
All right, sir. I am go for the poll.
All right. And for all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the Artemis II launch readiness check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
TC is go.
STC.
STC is go.
GTC.
C's go.
MCO.
CO's go.
Safety Console.
Safety Council is go.
LPE.
LP is go.
RTD.
RTD's go.
Houston Flight.
Houston flight is go.
ROC.
Rock is go.
And CDR.
Crew is go.
Copy that. Thank you, Reed. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
All right, NTD, I copy all. At this time, I'll perform my poll. Attention on the net. This is the launch director performing the final poll for launch, verifying no constraints, and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range Weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMT's go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good to hear your voice, Charlie. PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go. And NTD Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. You have a go to proceed with countdown.
Copy that. I'll put it in work. CDR, NTD.
Go.
Figure risers and initiate short purge per your EPROC 10.1.1, steps 8 and 9.
10.1.1, 8 and 9 going to work.
Copy. CVSE, NTD. Start and verify recordings of our Orion cameras.
Copy and work.
Thank you. RSR, NTD.
RSR.
All right, perform the booster ignition SNA arm rotation. Enable at this time, please.
RSR in work. Booster ignition SNA arm rotation enable complete.
Copy that, thank you.
Integrity crew, close and lock visors.
And as we've been hearing, the NASA test director poll complete, the launch director poll complete as well. Good words from the crew. Teams have been given the blessing to proceed with the count. We are awaiting terminal count to pick up once the new T0 has been set. Again, the terminal count has
entity will
not
be waiting
picked
for your
up just
verification
yet.
on
We're
short
watching
purge.
for movement of the clock.
And for all personnel, once we get that short purge verification, we'll verify that we are clear to go, and then we'll proceed with the terminal count.
As you just heard, a little bit more left to do before terminal count can proceed, but we are getting very close, everyone, to the liftoff of Artemis 2 as planned. For those who may just be joining us, if you haven't been following along with these final big updates.
ECL time estimate?
About a minute.
Copy.
Teams had a little bit of extra work they needed to get through, and so the terminal count has not picked up. So just setting the scene for everybody, there will not be a liftoff in 1 minute. We are awaiting the updated T0 time for the liftoff of the Space Launch System rocket. When that time is given, when we get right down to the end of the count, you'll see the 4 RS-25 engines ignite about 6.36 seconds before the 2 solid rocket boosters come to life, and then we'll see Artemis 2 take off. All continues to go well with these final 10 minutes once the terminal count picks up. Got a lot of folks out here eagerly awaiting the flight of Artemis 2, the first crewed mission of the Orion spacecraft.
NTD CCL 212, short purge initiations verified.
All right, copy that, and we're verifying our constraints. All right, and we're clear from cutouts. And with that, we're going to resume the clock momentarily. And CGLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
GLS copies. 3, 2, 1, mark. GLS mainline has been initiated.
T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
And we are now looking at 6:35 p.m. Eastern, 22:35 for the new T0 liftoff time for the Artemis 2 mission. Terminal clock underway. You'll hear a lot of call-outs on the process through the count. One of the next big milestones is coming up in about 1.5 minutes time. We'll see the retraction of the crew access arm. It will swing away from the Orion spacecraft and be stowed alongside the mobile launcher. That'll be followed by the ground launch sequencer giving the go for core stage pressurization at T-minus 6 minutes. At the same time, the Orion ascent pyros will be armed and the Orion spacecraft will transition to internal power. Seconds later, the core stage liquid hydrogen tank will terminate its replenish
Houston
cycle.
flight and Rock, our new T0 is 22:35:12.
Houston flight
copies.
copies. 22:35:12.
Affirm.
And just a note out there to all the launch photographers, the T0 specifically is 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. 22:35 and 12 seconds UTC for those around the world. About 30 seconds remaining to the planned swing away from the crew access arm away from the Orion spacecraft. The launch abort system, which is the structure atop the Orion spacecraft, you can see that there with the American flag just above that red umbilical. That ability to use that emergency way of getting away from the rocket, if necessary, will become active for the crew beginning at T-minus 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Once the LAS is active, the NASA test director will let Commander Reed Wiseman know that that is a viable option.
GLS is go for crew access arm retract.
Retract go, given arm is now swinging away. We're now less than 8 minutes away to the planned liftoff of the Space Launch System rocket on its first crewed flight. You can see this view from inside the White Room as the arm retracts away from the crew and the spacecraft named Integrity. About 7.5 minutes remaining before the planned liftoff. Again, in about a little less than a minute and a half from now, the tank pressurization on the core stage will begin. Just under 7 minutes and counting now. Less than 1 minute to course tank pressurization, and the launch ascent pyros will be armed, and the Orion spacecraft transitions to internal power. After the 6-minute mark in flight, some of the next major milestones beyond the launch abort system being activated at T-minus 5 minutes and 20 seconds. The go for the flight termination system arming will happen at T-minus 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Core stage auxiliary power unit.
GLS is go for core stage tank pressurization.
The replenish valve is now closed for the core stage liquid hydrogen tank. Under 5 minutes now, or under 6 minutes. Launch abort system capability will be active for the crew in about 10 seconds.
GLS verifies last capability available.
And CDR copy.
CDR copies, last available.
That escape capability now available to the crew if necessary, confirmed by Commander Reed Wiseman as we are now 5 minutes and counting.
GLS is go for FTS arm. GLS is go for LH2 high flow bleed check.
Four minutes and counting.
GLS is go for core stage APU start.
This is the auxiliary power unit on the core stage. Just about 3.5 minutes remaining on the clock now. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage locks. Topping should terminate here. Coming up to the final 3 minutes of the count. When we hit about 2 minutes and 2 seconds, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will switch to its internal battery power. That'll be followed seconds later by
GLS is go for purge sequence 4.
the core stage switching to internal power as well. First, the solids at 2 minutes, the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds, switching to internal power. We're less than 3 minutes to the planned liftoff of Artemis 2. Continuing on with the terminal count to a liftoff scheduled for 6:35 and 12 seconds Eastern Time. Should see a gimbal there of those engines. You see that in motion. Good testing of those RS-25 engines, now approaching the final 2 minutes in flight. As a reminder, those RS-25s will ignite as planned at T-minus 6 seconds.
Go for upper stage to internal power.
6.36 seconds before liftoff is when those engines will come alive. We're less than 2 minutes. In this, the final minute and a half, the core stage will switch to internal power as well. The upper stage will
TLSs go for core stage to internal power.
Good call out there. Should hear a call for the upper stage entering terminal countdown mode. Coming up on the final minute of the count. One minute and counting. Cheers across the press lawn here at the Kennedy Space Center.
GLS go for ALS.
30 seconds and counting.
25.
The hydrogen burn-off igniters will kick on at T-minus 12 seconds.
15.
Hydrogen burner ignition.
10. GLSs go for core stage.
8, 7, 6 should have RS-25 start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the Artemis 2 mission, the first crewed flight of the Orion spacecraft, the first humans to plan a trip beyond low Earth orbit, has taken off from Florida. Now about 1 minute in flight, the SLS rocket traveling faster than the speed of sound. Engine's about to throttle back as it approaches max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. RS-20. Good confirmation, past max Q, the RS-25s throttling back up to 109% thrust capacity. Now about a little more than a minute and a half into flight. Coming up next will be the separation of the two 5-segment solid rocket boosters a little more than 2 minutes into the mission. That roll maneuver we saw earlier, intentional to put the crew in the right orientation as the rocket continues to climb uphill. And a good separation of those solids. Five solid rocket boosters chock full of shuttle heritage, having carried this crew on the first part of their journey.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
75% of the initial thrust was those engines.
SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
Now approaching T+3 minutes into the flight. Coming up next will be the jettison of the launch abort system. At that point in the mission, it will no longer be needed. Now more than 3 minutes into this flight of the Artemis II crew on board their Space Launch System rocket. There go the covers for the launch abort system. Now it has been jettisoned. Orion Integrity now no longer having the launch abort system.
Integrity, good last jettison, great view.
Copy jettison, Team Eco 8+02.
And with that protection covering now gone.
Same on board, Stan.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tidris at the Kármán line.
The windows are open, as you just heard.
Outstanding, Stan, we have you the same.
Reaching the Kármán line, entering space. First space flight for Jeremy Hansen, the second for Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook. Now a little more than 4 minutes into flight, the next big milestone is coming up in about 4 minutes' time. We're watching for the core stage main engine cutoff. This will be MECO, where the 4 RS-25 engines will power down. That'll be followed a little more than 10 seconds later by the separation of the core stage and the ICPS, the rocket's upper stage, which will be powered by an RL-10 engine from L3 Harris. Continuing to get great tracking views this April 1st, the flight of Artemis II.
Integrity, GPS processing.
Outstanding, Stan. We see the same, and we have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it.
Good words by the commander heading towards that, quote, beautiful moonrise. Their zero-G indicator happens to be named Rise as well. Created by a second grader in California, taken from inspiration by the iconic
Integrity, 3 engine press.
Earthrise image.
3 engine press.
The call we were just hearing regarding the engines still have 4 good RS-25s. Only 3 would be needed to carry it to the correct point for MECO at this point, so they are in a very good position at this stage in the flight. Now approaching T+6 minutes.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes.
Same on board, Stan.
Looking at a animation rendering, a visualization you can see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. This is not from a tracking camera, but a visualization of what is happening in real time. This rendering coming from NASA. About 6.5.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown.
Integrity copies, nominal shutdown.
A good view of the contrail there from Firing Room 1. I believe that's the silhouette of Artemis Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson. Has to be ecstatic so far of how this mission has performed. 7 minutes into the mission now. Now less than 1 minute away to MECO, main engine cutoff. Engines will begin to throttle down as they approach the point of main engine cutoff. Now nearly 7.5 minutes post-flight beginning.
Integrity, AOA open.
AOA open.
NASA reporting nominal trajectory still so far, a call out relating to an abort zone if needed in the Pacific Ocean. Coming up to MECO here momentarily. And we had a good MECO, and as you can see, stage separation.
Integrity, nominal MECO, core stage separated.
We see the same onboard, Stan.
This camera view from one of NASA's imaging planes, WB-57, I believe. Now back to the visualization showing the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. A little more than 9 minutes into the flight so far. The RL-10 engine nozzle should have extended by this point. The crew released in
Integrity Houston, looking ahead to PRM numbers so far per the pad.
Copy that, Stan. Numbers for the pad.
that call confirming that teams are tracking towards the perigee raise maneuver about 49 minutes post liftoff. Before then, though, the Orion solar arrays should deploy on the European service module. That's expected at T plus 20 minutes.
Integrity, good. Neds deploy.
Copy that, Stan. Good, Neds.
And Integrity Houston for PWD setup. Just a reminder, halfway open on the secondary.
We copy that, Stan. Halfway open.
And just confirming there that the RL-10 nozzle was extended as expected. The communication now from the Johnson Space Center to Commander Reed Wiseman coming from the Capcom, who is NASA astronaut Stan Love. Crew will now be able to raise their visors as well, per NASA. As we're awaiting the next big milestone, which is set to be the
Houston C3 aux power back in auto.
Copy C3 aux, and we're 2 minutes to maneuver.
Let's go ahead and listen in to a NASA commentator here for a moment from the Johnson Space Center, I believe.
Seconds of mission elapsed time. We're going to continue to follow the crew of the Artemis 2 mission. They are beginning their journey around the moon to verify the systems that will take us to its surface. An incredible ascent. Artemis 2 is underway. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen begin their journey to the moon. Still milestones to come up as we await solar array deploy and the critical burns that will get Integrity into high Earth orbit around the Earth before engines are fired to get us around the moon. We'll keep tabs on Integrity and its crew from here in Mission Control Houston. But for now, we're going to send it back to you, Megan and Nicole at the Kennedy Space Center. Very jealous.
As teams are awaiting the deployment of the Orion solar arrays from the European service module, which is expected in about 4 minutes' time from now, taking a look at the split screen between the visualization of what's happening with the interim cryogenic propulsion stage and the Orion spacecraft on the left, and the now empty mobile launcher there on the right-hand side of your screen. NASA leadership mentioned that there were a number of improvements made to the mobile launcher to make it more resilient against the impacts of 8.8 million pounds of thrust provided by the 2 solid rocket boosters and 4 RS-25s that we just saw propel the start of the Artemis 2 mission. The goal is to get this mobile launcher back in a configuration where they were able to return it to the vehicle assembly building in the not too distant future, since with the goal to launch the Artemis 3 mission now in a little more than a year's time, the stacking will need to get underway later this year, and that begins with the mobile launcher returning to the vehicle assembly building once it has been cleared to do so.
And Integrity Houston, cross-tie is on board per the ETSI-DEM.
We copy Houston, thank you. Houston, integrity anywhere until that momentary prop caution.
And Reed, no action, we're looking at it. Integrity Houston, update on TDRS handover for your pad.
Give us just 1 minute. And Stan, you can read it. Ike is ready to copy.
Roger. TDRS handover east to west expected 1 second earlier at 5:1 minutes 26 seconds.
Hi, Stan, we copy 1 second earlier for 5126 TDRS east to west, and saws are starting to deploy. Thermal knives are firing.
We concur. Thanks for the report.
Now 21 minutes and change post liftoff. Conversation we were just hearing, a confirmation that solar array deploy is in work. Reaching a TDRS handover a little bit, about 1 second earlier than originally planned. TDRS is the tracking and data relay satellite system. It's part of the near space network, which is working to maintain communication with the Orion spacecraft during this early phase in flight. As the mission goes on, it will transition to comms with the deep space network.
And integrity for prop messages, we see 2 temperature measurements right near the line. It's that momentary message you saw earlier. We're going to suppress those. It's CM helium heater 2 T1 and heater 1 T1. They're going suppressed.
Integrity, thank you. We see the same. Houston Integrity, we are happy to report that Jeremy has the O2 sensors on.
Copy O2 sensors. Integrity Houston, we see 4 saws deployed and latched, ready for ATO preferred.
Yeah, we're almost there in the procedure stand, and we see the same thing.
Good confirmation of...
And Integrity Houston, we are seeing a 7-second miscompare between the MET on Orion and ICPS. We'd like you to read us the MET from your center status bar and for the ICPS on StackSum.
And Stan, we see a absolutely precise alignment. MET 25, 14, 15, 16, precisely aligned with ICPS MET.
Copy, thank you for that. We'll investigate a ground issue.
And Houston Integrity, ATO preferred set.
Copy, ATO preferred.
Time now, T plus 26 minutes, 3 seconds, and counting. A good confirmation that the 4 solar arrays have deployed on the Orion spacecraft and have latched to begin to draw power. The ICPS has the RL-10 engine facing the sun to give them the optimal position for starting to draw power.
Integrity for GNC, we're taking channel 1 to unfiltered and to BFS.
Okay, Stan, we're watching. Go ahead.
Now a little more than 29 minutes into flight. The next big milestone is coming up in about 20 minutes time. That is the perigee raise maneuver, which will take the Orion spacecraft in the upper stage from its current orbit at 1,381 by 17 statute miles and raise that perigee up to 115 statute miles. Again, that burn expected here in now just under 20 minutes time. As we watch the progress of the early phases of the Artemis II mission after a successful liftoff from Launch Complex 39B here at the Kennedy Space Center, let's wind the clock back a little bit to show you some of the brilliant photos captured by our photography team from here at the press site. We start with this image from photographer Michael Kane. Want to point out something here in this photo. If you just look to the left of the mobile launcher in between the ML and that middle lightning protection tower, you can see the slide wire baskets that make up the emergency egress system were released and are starting to head towards the terminus point in this image. It was unclear if this was supposed to happen, if this is part of the nominal procedure at liftoff, that those jettison away, perhaps as a means of protecting them from the impact of the solid rocket boosters and RS-25 engines. We'll have a briefing from NASA a little bit later this evening, and so that'll be something we're curious if that's brought up by the NASA leadership, or if not, then we or perhaps another one of our colleagues in the press corps will be able to have that addressed. Moving on to our next launch photo here. This is a photo from our Adam Bernstein as the SLS rocket takes flight alongside the stars and stripes above the Artemis program flag that you see just beneath there at the flagpole adjacent to the countdown clock. And finally, we'll conclude our roundup with a photo from John Pisani. A wide view with the flags on the right and an eager crowd excited to see what is poised to be humans' return to the lunar area for the first time since 1972 and Apollo 17. As a reminder, though, this is not a landing mission. Crews will also not be entering into lunar orbit. This mission, Artemis II, designed to be a free return trajectory, which means the Orion spacecraft, both the crew module and the European service module, will perform a free return trajectory, a big loop around the far side of the moon, and target a splashdown next week, scheduled for April 10th, if all continues to go well, in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, where the U.S. Navy will be ready and waiting to move in quickly to recover the astronauts and bring them safely aboard, either immediately onto the recovery ship that will be awaiting them, and then flying quickly back to shore for initial medical checkouts, which is standard for this type of return operation. We saw the recovery team get through their paces back in the Artemis I mission. Of course, that was an uncrewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft. This Orion spacecraft also performing a slightly different trajectory this time, which is why there were fewer launch days available to the team, because instead of doing the skip re-entry as was originally planned for the mission, there was a little bit more cracking and breakup of the shield, the heat shield at the base of the crew module for the Artemis I mission, and so teams planned this different trajectory, coming in at a slightly steeper angle. That skip entry, though, will return as the heat shield for the Artemis 3 mission is new and improved. Well, I say that yes, the heat shield is improved for the Artemis 3 mission, but that will be in low Earth orbit. So still waiting to see what the full mission profile of that flight will be. But for Artemis 4 and beyond, the plan at this point is to perform that skip entry. Now, a little more than 34 and a half minutes into this mission so far. Coming up next at T+49 is that all-important perigee raise maneuver, which will put the crew into a safe orbital position. Some of the next big mission milestones after that perigee raise maneuver that happened here during flight day 1. Less than 2 hours after, or I should say less than an hour after the perigee raise maneuver is an apogee raise burn, which will put the Orion spacecraft and the ICPS into a high Earth orbit at 43,730 by 0 statute miles. And Orion will remain about that apogee through the...
Integrity Houston, updated PRM numbers when you're ready to copy.
All right, Houston, we are ready to copy.
TIG is 2 seconds earlier at 4 9er minutes for 8 seconds. TIGO unchanged at 2.6 seconds.
49, 48, TIGO 26.
And you're hearing those slight updates coming from Mission Control Houston. Capcom Stan Love up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft. Perigee raise burn will be a total of 26 seconds, so a fairly short burn of the RL-10 engine. Crews busily working to make sure all of the life support systems are in operation as expected.
Integrity Houston, for Optimus on the PCD, we have time update instructions when you're ready.
And Houston, Integrity, we copy. Hands are pretty busy at this time. I think we will call you back when we're ready for that.
All right, that one is not urgent. 2 minutes to maneuver to PRM attitude.
We are watching and concurred. 90 seconds-ish, maybe.
Now T plus 39 minutes, 6 seconds and counting. We're about 10 minutes away from the start of that perigee raise maneuver, which will last a total of 26 seconds. Let's go ahead and listen in now to Mission Control Center in Houston.
Once concluded, Stan Love will report it back up to the crew, and we'll stand by for that.
Integrity Houston, MCC polls go for PRM, pending attitude and saws.
Okay, we copy. MCC is go. Maneuver starting.
Minutes of mission elapsed time. The maneuver to the burn attitude has begun. The maneuver also is paired with reorientation of the solar array wings that have been deployed. They will have various positions throughout the duration of the flight. Of course, solar array is meant to maximize the draw of power from the sun. So when deployed, we're in a biased solar array wing configuration that was called solar normal. This allows for the greatest surface area of the solar array wings to be drawing power and powering up those batteries of integrity, of which a cross-tie was enabled between the four batteries, the four battery buses that are inside of Orion. However, for the perigee raise maneuver, the solar array wings will be put into a position to take on the loads imparted by the ICPS main engine when they execute the 26-second burn. You can see in the animation here, the solar array wings are in motion, and the attitude is being reconfigured to point the engine in the correct direction, those solar array wings being pointed forward. You're getting a live look inside the Artemis II mission flight control room. The team you see here oversaw the ascent of our four astronauts inside Integrity, launching at 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Now again, this room will be occupied 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with flight controllers shifting on 3 shifts to oversee 24/7 operations of Artemis II while in flight. We will cover that live on the NASA YouTube channel, and we'll be covering that around the clock as we begin to wrap up our coverage here on NASA Plus. Before I do want to send it over to our colleagues at the Kennedy Space Center. And to my colleagues, it was a pleasure to join the teams at the Kennedy Space Center and be a part of such a historic launch. Here in Houston, again, we're turning our attention to the mission. And for now, we'll say farewell and thank you to our colleagues there for
Integrity Houston, we see Orion in attitude and SAW in position for PRM.
We see the same on board. Looking good, Stan.
And a good call there at T plus 46 minutes, 20 seconds and counting of the Orion solar panels in good position and a good attitude ahead of the planned start of the 26-second perigee raise maneuver. Here is where about 46.5 minutes after liftoff. And as we're looking out here back at what is fortunately a pad devoid of a rocket, which means the mission off to, thankfully, a good start here. The mobile launcher, lots of work ahead to make sure it's in a good configuration for stacking to begin now later this year. We are joined once again by our friend and colleague, Stephen Clark, a space reporter now at Ars Technica. Stephen, it was a spectacular launch.
Yes.
What'd you think?
You couldn't ask for better weather for a launch. I mean, golden hour, you know, it was clear skies, gorgeous, gorgeous launch, and feeling that the thunder and the roar from the solid rocket boosters was something you really can't forget. It's unmistakable. It has a different feel to it than a liquid-fueled rocket, and followed it downrange for a good 5 minutes until it finally got too low on the horizon to see with the naked eye, but we could see the boosters separate from the core stage, and even caught a glimpse with the naked eye of the service module panels separating for just a moment until they got lost in the backdrop of the sky. So, you know, I think I've gone on record in my writing and several podcasts and stuff that I'm pro day launch, and I'm so thankful that it launched before sunset. You know, it was so much more interesting to see the rocket in daylight than on Artemis 1, which was of course at night, which was spectacular in its own right, but seeing the rocket in all its glory is really something special.
Well, and now we can look forward to a whole bevy of onboard cameras and hopefully a trove of engineering camera views that will have the good definition of daylight for all the various, you know, endpoints of the terminal count, the liftoff, and you know, I think we'll learn as a community visually a lot more about this vehicle here.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to hear what NASA's perspective is. They may see something interesting or see some performance, you know, issue or optimization that they see in the video. But yeah, all the cameras are on the launch pad, the high-speed engineering cameras, the long-range trackers, the onboard cameras. We're going to be in for a treat as those videos come out over the coming hours and days.
And it seems like this administration is one that really is pushing for the visuals to drive the story. So hopefully we won't have too terribly long to wait before we start seeing those troves show up on the NASA Video Archive and the HQ Flickr page.
Let's hope so, yeah. I can't wait to see it.
And so here we are now, just about 49.5 minutes post liftoff. The perigee raise maneuver should be getting underway here in just a second. If we hear the call that's starting, we'll go ahead and pause so we can listen into that. Should last about 26 seconds in total. Coming up here in just a second. So we'll go ahead and pause and show you back some views of the SLS mobile launcher, now devoid of the SLS here. Let's go back to the sunset view. Here's where listening in for any callouts. Not hearing anything for the moment on Earth to Orion loops. Of course, we will pause if that does change, but assuming that the perigee raise maneuver was successful, it'll set things up for the next big burn, the apogee raise maneuver. And that'll put the rocket on the course to a high Earth orbit, which is exciting.
Yeah, out to I think a little more than 40,000 miles, 44,000 miles, statute miles, I think if my memory serves, which will be beyond geosynchronous orbit, actually about twice the altitude of geosynchronous orbit, where a lot of communications satellites reside. So quite far out, and that will be, you know, the farthest anyone has gone from Earth by far since 1972. Of course, this mission later on will likely, it will break if everything goes according to plan, the distance record all time that was set during Apollo 13 out beyond the far side of the moon. But just going into this high Earth orbit is really, uncharted territory for human spaceflight in the last 50 years.
And, this mission is chock full of potential first, depending on how the next several hours and the next several days go. But achieving that apogee raise maneuver, getting into that high Earth orbit, that'll be box number one, because Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian, becomes the first non-American to go beyond low Earth orbit here in potentially just a little more than an hour's time, or a couple of hours' time now.
Yes, that is quite true. That's a good statistic, and that also buys them time to work any issues once they finish this apogee raise maneuver, which should be going on now, right?
It should have concluded by now. Yes, it was only 26 seconds
ago.
Yeah.
That once they get into this low orbit, stable orbit, that buys them some time, and they can operate in low Earth orbit for a period of time if there's any issue. But there's no issue that I'm aware of coming up in the flight right now. So it looks like everything's going to proceed, assuming this burn was nominal all the way through the apogee, or the apogee raise maneuver next, and then the rendezvous and proximity operations demo, which will be, I think, one of the coolest parts of the mission for a lot of space nerds from a technical perspective.
Yes, I believe that is the correct term. That will be very exciting. One of the key parts of being in that high Earth orbit and being in that safe space where they can check out the spacecraft is making sure that they address some of the potential unknown unknowns. Does the toilet work? An important thing to address before you begin a 10-day journey towards the moon and back. Not recalling the exact timing of this, but they'll want to understand a little bit more about the flywheel that's on board, the exercise system, which the crew will spend about 30 minutes per astronaut a day on that flywheel as part of their process to make sure that they maintain good bone and muscle health throughout this 10-day mission. Not the 2 hours that astronauts at the International Space Station have to do, certainly. Standing by 1 second.
Minutes long.
Looking live into the Johnson Space Center, this is Mission Control in the White Flight Room. I do not.
Integrity Houston on Tidris West. White Sands is receiving data. Houston is not. We're still troubleshooting.
Looking at the Mission Control Center, Houston, as we were just...
Capcom Stan Love, part of the Ascent team here in Mission Control Houston. We changed over to point to one of the tracking and data relay satellites at the expected time. That time was updated to 51 minutes, 26 seconds of mission elapsed time, going from Tidris East to Tidris West. Upon switching to Tidris West, Mission Control Houston, not seeing some of the data coming from Orion, coming from Integrity. So we're standing by to regain the ability and troubleshoot some of the rationale as to why we are having some intermittent gaps in our data and communications with the crew. Now again, as the teams are troubleshooting.
Integrity Houston in the blind. We see good solar normal maneuver. ARB TIG is expected to be 45 seconds earlier than the pad. That's 1 hour, 46 minutes, 0 9 seconds. No update to TIGO yet.
That refers to as part of the data that we are not getting from the TDRIST West satellite, noting that we understand that we may not be receiving communications from the crew, though they may be able to hear us. So Stan Love reporting what status is known on our end. We do know that from the data we are receiving that the upper stage and Integrity have maneuvered to solar normal, meaning that the orientation, the attitude of the spacecraft is such that the solar rays can draw the maximum amount of power.
Integrity Houston in the blind for Christina. Just before the TDRIST handover, we heard your report about the lack of an oxone inlet filter. We copy that there is not one installed as expected, but please put in a new one.
Team here you see in this row at the Capcom console is NASA astronaut Stan Love. The voice that you're hearing from the teams here in Mission Control Houston up to the crew of Integrity. A Capcom voice that you'll hear throughout the mission as well. Next to Dr. Love, to his right, is Jackie Mahaffey, the Chief Training Officer for the Artemis II crew, and a voice that you'll hear from here in Mission Control Houston. Flight Director Judd Freeling is to Stan Love's left. The ascent flight director and leading the teams through the ascent that happened today. And to the left of Judd Freeling is Flight Director Rick Henfling, part of the entry teams here on console to oversee the ascent portion. He'll be returning to console on flight day 9 to prepare for the splashdown on a nominal timeline for flight day 10.
Houston in the blind. We're rebooting some ground equipment to try to recover the link. Expect 10 minutes.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, the teams here are troubleshooting the lack of a forward link, an ability to communicate with the crew aboard Orion. Teams are troubleshooting and planning to reset some ground equipment as the forward link was dropped at the time that we switched from TDRS East to TDRS West. That happened, that handover period started at mission elapsed time of 51 minutes, 26 seconds. Capcom Stan Love reporting some updates, what is called in the blind, meaning that though we...
Integrity Houston in the blind, expecting an imminent automated swap to string 2 on board. Also, reminder, we are still receiving good ICPS data.
Again, Capcom Stan Love reporting to the crew in the blind, meaning there may be an ability for the crew to hear the calls from the ground. We do know that we are not able to hear any of the crew calls coming from Orion. We did just confirm that we are receiving data from the upper stage, and that allows us to understand and confirm the attitude and orientation of both spacecraft, knowing that they are at solar normal. And with the reboot, we're starting to get some data here. We'll confirm that the data we are receiving is good. With the regain of comm, we're starting to get some views aboard the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston, voice check on TDRS.
Loud and clear, Stan Hollis.
And we now have you the same. Good to hear your voice.
And good to hear yours as well.
All right, we are still trying to understand whether the automated swap to S-band string 2 recovered comm for us or what was going on the ground. We gave you calls about an ARB TIG and an oxone inlet filter. Did you copy them?
Copied all.
Excellent.
This is Mission Control Houston, though the solutions that were applied to regain the communications from Integrity is not known which one worked. We do know that we are receiving data. We're getting confirmation that is updating some of our telemetry that shows that the solar array wings have been reconfigured to the solar normal. Again, drawing as much power as possible. While Integrity is in flight and awaiting the next burn, the apogee raise burn. And you just heard confirmed, though Stan Love was reporting some things in the blind, meaning we could not hear the crew respond to any of the calls that were going on Orion to Earth. We did confirm from Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity that they did hear all of the calls that Capcom Stan Love was reporting.
And Integrity for comm, while we are sorting out the earlier comm loss, we plan to remain on S-band string 2.
Copy S-band string 2, and quid 19 has been inhibited for right CCD.
Copy quid 19.
This is Mission Control Houston. Commander Reed Wiseman working through his steps at this time in the timeline. Mission Specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen should be closing out some of the procedures that were activating some of the environmental control and life support systems. And again, those steps relayed from Capcom Stan Love were received by the crew, so they did copy them and address any of the feedback that was provided by Capcom Stan Love. The launch and entry suits for Mission Specialist 1 and 2, that's Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, per the timeline, they are in the period of time to doff or take off the suits. The launch and entry suits for Commander Reed Wiseman and pilot Victor Glover will remain on until after a successful apogee raise burn. Their role is to oversee the successful burn there. In the meantime, they're configuring some of their equipment and configuration that's needed ahead of the day's activities, starting with covering a CCD cursor control device. And they're well on their way to a nominal timeline, of course, addressing the communication link by resetting some ground equipment and changing the string of communications, which addressed the issue, and now we're getting full data from the ICPS as well as the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston, questions for Jeremy and for Christina.
Stan, can you power on the toilet, and then we'll stand by for your words for Jeremy and Christina.
Toilet power up is in work. The questions are, can you confirm the HHP cam has been powered down? And then the question for Christina is whether the urine filter, that's the rubber part, was installed, but just no beads connected.
And that's affirmative. The filter was installed, no beads.
Thank you.
And Stan, we are wrapping up PWD right now. Jeremy will get the HHB cameras after that. There was a tremendous amount of back pressure on all those settings, so it's taken a little bit of all the connectors, so it's taken a little bit of time.
Copy. Thank you.
Commander Reed Wiseman aware of the steps, the initial steps for mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, working on some of the systems inside, while the commander and pilot monitor the flight of Integrity.
Integrity Houston, toilet is powered, waste tank purged.
We copy that, Stan. Thank you.
Some of the equipment inside needs to be activated by flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston. The activation of some of these necessary for their trip on their first day in orbit as part of the Artemis 2 mission. While Christina Cook addressed the waste systems that are on board now that they're activated and purged. Jeremy Hansen working on the potable water dispenser, rather. One of his initial steps is to activate the equipment and start filling some bags as a reserve. So he's working through those steps. The HHP camera is one of the internal cameras inside of Integrity. HHP camera was one that was captured through the duration of ascent and recorded into the flight computers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, down it helps you at all, Stan. But that whole time that you all had, seemed like you had a good forward link. We just had no return. We saw a good frame lock, and everything looked good. The only thing we did not have was a good ping. I don't know if that helps you.
That helps a lot, Reed. Thank you for that report.
Elapsed time now, T plus 1 hour, 11 minutes, 33 seconds post liftoff. We're looking live at the Orion spacecraft from the view of one of the solar panels. You can see one in the foreground and just a little bit of a glimpse of the Orion spacecraft. So far, a good start to the mission. A little bit of a comms issue that teams are working to run to the ground. Communications from the ground to the Orion spacecraft, as Commander Reed Wiseman confirmed, were able to be heard by the crew. Just the crew wasn't able to be heard by the ground, so they're working to make sure that they understand that as they progress through the mission towards the apogee rays burn, which is coming up here a little bit later this evening. Want to bring back in.
Okay, Sam, we copy that.
Just to clarify, this was a comms issue between the ground systems and mission control, not a communications issue between the spacecraft and the ground, just to clarify where they were running into some trouble there. Before we wrap up our broadcast here, I want to go ahead and bring back in our friend and guest, Stephen Clark with Ars Technica, to get some final thoughts as we're preparing to hear from NASA leadership in a briefing set to begin in a little more than 10 minutes time. So, Stephen, it's been mostly smooth. A little bit of a hiccup there around the time of the burn with some of the ground systems, but it sounds like they're on a path towards getting that resolved.
Yes, a very auspicious start, I think, to Artemis 2 and humanity's return to the moon. It was a beautiful show here as we saw the Space Launch System rise from the launch pad just behind us, heading out east, and then we heard a call from Commander Reed Wiseman a few minutes after launch that they were heading into moonrise. They could see the moon from their spacecraft. So destination in view as they headed downrange here from Kennedy Space Center. So yeah, very exciting day. Everything went about as well, I think, as NASA could have hoped for. And critical moments ahead, the apogee rays maneuver, the separation from the ICPS, the Orion separation from the upper stage, and then the manual flying and proximity operations demonstration later tonight. So day's not over, but certainly the fireworks are over, hopefully, and everything went well today, so excited to be here.
Yeah, the local fireworks, the local show is done, but the mission persists. Packed 9+ days ahead for this flight crew. Lots to cover, starting with that important proximity demonstration, which is going to set the template for future docking in Artemis missions yet to come. Stephen Clark with Ars Technica. Folks can find your work, of course, at arstechnica.com and on X at Stephen Clark 1. If I got that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks for being with us, my friend. Really
Always
appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And big thank you to our audience here for being with us for however much of the day that you were with us, from the start of fueling to the excitement building, the team walking out from crew quarters, heading out to the pad, getting in their spacecraft, working through some issues, but persisting nonetheless. A slightly later liftoff from the opening of the window, but they had the time, they took it, and we got a good start to the Artemis 2 mission. As we mentioned, there's a lot left to cover with this flight, as the destination, as Stephen said, is still ahead of them. The moon lies out in front, and we'll certainly learn a lot more about the spacecraft and the crew as they make their voyage around our own satellite and eventually make their way back here safely to Earth. Want to give a big thank you to all of our team who has been working very hard to get to this point of liftoff. The days, weeks, and months that went into planning this coverage. This is just the beginning here for us. We're going to bring this show on the road. We're heading to the Johnson Space Center to pick things up beginning tomorrow as we're looking towards flight day 2 and everything else that is set to come. So hope you'll join us along for the ride. We'll continue our coverage here with the remainder of flight day 1 over on our 24/7 live stream called Artemis Live. Want to give a big thank you to all of our moderators in the chat, to our channel members who have supported us, to our friends Pete Karstens with Max Q Productions, Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. A big thank you to all of our guests who took the time to lend their expertise to our coverage and to bring the most valuable information to you, dear viewer, as we went throughout this marathon of a day, and we're glad you're able to be with us. A final thank you, of course, to our team, to Michael Kane, to Adam Bernstein, to John Pisani, and our editor, Stephen Young. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Maybe the one on this side of the mic, but this, as space, as often said, is a team sport. So sincere thank you to you for our wonderful coverage today, and we look forward to continuing on with you for the duration of the mission. For all of us here at Spaceflight now on Artemis launch day, April 1st, I am Will Robinson Smith. Thank you for being with us. Ad Astra, and good night. We'll see you next time.
and 9 seconds of mission elapsed time. The duration of the burn at the pad was 17 minutes 52 seconds. Ahead of the execution of the burn, any changes in that duration will be reported to the crew and uploaded to ensure that the apogee raise burn goes as expected and puts them on the predicted trajectory. That trajectory being 43,730 miles by 0 statute mile orbit. This high Earth orbit will take the crew of Integrity past the tracking and data relay satellites that are positioned about 23,000 miles away from the Earth. Again, they're currently on TDRS West. And they will transition to the Deep Space Network. The apogee raise burn time of ignition again at 1 hour 46 minutes and 9 seconds of mission elapsed time. That is expected and will occur during the post-launch press briefing. So as part of our 24/7 coverage, the briefing itself will overlap with that particular milestone. To follow along on our 24/7 coverage, we won't necessarily stop our coverage. The clean Orion to Earth loops will be available on our clean feed that will show a view similar to what you're seeing now. This is a view from the solar array wings, and you'll also hear the communications between Capcom's Stan Love here and the crew aboard Integrity, and you can listen as they confirm the execution of the burn and any changes of the burn. When we come back from the press conference, expected about around 8:05 p.m. Central Time, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, we'll go ahead and recap any of the milestones that occurred while we transitioned to the press briefing to answer the questions that come from the press, and continue along on our 24/7 coverage.
Houston Integrity for CFC install. That is complete.
Copy CFC, thank you.
And Houston, just want to let you know, since we're running a touch behind timeline, we have not yet started suit doff for any of the 4 crew members. We'll get to it in a bit.
Copy, thank you. Integrity Houston, updated ARB numbers when you're ready.
We are ready.
And sorry, false alarm. Still integrating on the ground. We'll be back with you shortly.
Good practice call. Talk to you in a second.
Roger.
This is Mission Control Houston. For those still with us, the press briefing that was scheduled to begin at 7:05 will begin shortly. They're just getting set up, and just stay tuned until we are able to transition to beginning.
Activity on Jeremy's timeline is complete.
To the beginning of the press briefing.
Copy, docking camera. Thank you.
Teams on the ground are analyzing the time of ignition and what's called T-GO, the duration of the burn. At the time ahead of liftoff, the duration of the burn was 17 minutes 52 seconds. There might be some changes. The flight dynamics officer and his support in the back rooms are analyzing to make sure that what they are about to report to the crew is rock solid.
Integrity Houston with new ARB numbers for real this time.
Okay, Stan, we're listening. Go ahead.
ARB TIG, 1 hour, 46 minutes, 07 seconds. TIGO is 18 minutes, 06 seconds.
Okay, Stan, we copy and have entered 1 hour, 46 minutes, 7 seconds for TIG, and TIGO, 18 minutes, 6 seconds.
Thank you for that. With that, we also have an updated time for the handover from Teeters west to east. That is going to be over 6 minutes earlier than what's on your pad. You can expect that at MET 2 hours, 03 minutes, 04 seconds, 2:03:04.
2, 3, 4. For handover west to east. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. And integrity 2 minutes
Dan,
to maneuver.
PFE is reading 3, which is nominal.
Copy PFE. And integrity, we are ready for the Eclipse power down per your execute note.
All right, as we've continued to follow along on the mission, here in Mission Control Houston and on the Orion to Earth loops, we'll take you over to the beginning of the press briefing, the post-launch press briefing over at the Kennedy Space Center.
Integrity, we see DU3 right at center. We see DUs 1 and 2, a couple of clicks above center. We're checking power draw now.
Copy that, Stan, and obviously when we go into eclipse, we can bring them down a bit further.
Roger. And Reed, when we get into eclipse, we would like those extra clicks on DUs 1 and 2.
Yeah, you got it. We did bring 1 and 2 down a touch, but we'll bring them down as far as we can when we get into eclipse.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity, the Artemis 2 mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate vehicle. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines on the Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour.
Good evening and welcome to NASA's Artemis 2 post-launch news conference. I'm Bethany Stevens, Senior Advisor and Press Secretary, and I will be your moderator today. I am joined by Administrator Jared Isaacman, Associate Administrator Amit Kshatriya, Acting Associate Administrator for the Exploration System Development Mission Directorate, Dr. Lori Glaze, and Director of Flight Operations, Norm Knight. Administrator Isaacman will give opening remarks, and then we will open the floor to questions. If you are dialing in to be with us here today, please press star 1 to get in the queue. And with that, Administrator.
Thanks, Bethany. Good evening, everyone. So today, April 1st, 2026, 6:35 p.m., NASA's Space Launch System rocket lifted off the pad with 8.8 million pounds of thrust, carrying the Orion spacecraft and the Artemis 2 crew out to Earth orbit and beginning America's grand return to the moon. Now, about 51 minutes into the flight, during a planned handover between satellites, the Orion spacecraft underwent a communications issue, leading to a temporary partial loss of comms. The uplink from Capcom to the crew was being heard by the crew, but we cannot hear the responses for a brief period of time. There were no issues with the vehicle itself. Comms with the crew have been restored. We're actively working the issue, and we'll keep you informed. The Orion spacecraft has successfully separated from the core stage, and its solar arrays have been deployed as planned. Soon